Oakey Oak sucks. Yeah, y'all hurt me. What you gonna do about it?
You need to leave!
Okay. I know this is not the most surprising or profound thing to say, especially for a movie that is as mid as Chick Little, but I don't know. This has been in my mind rent free for a while after like my third, maybe fourth rewatch. Plus, I didn't have outlet to express my thoughts, so here we are. But honestly, I feel sorry for Chick Little. Man's really need this kind of treatment, especially since he seems to have a job that necessitates him to alert the whole town for their safety. That is a huge burden and responsibility to carry for a child, and yet, even though he does get scared easily, rather than simply correcting him and guiding him on how to go about doing his job, he gets yelled at and mocked to oblivion. And it happens twice! First time at the beginning of the movie, and second time later on, which by the way, they could have seen what Chick Little wanted to show if they weren't such morons.
Quick, it's taking off! Come on, if you don't hurry up, you're gonna miss it! Oh, look! A penny! Guys!
And that is just scratching the surface. Any other mistreatment he gets throughout the film includes him being sent to the principal's office for his quote-unquote incompetence, when everyone but his friends assumed and therefore refuses to treat him in baseball, which by the way leads to everyone treating him like a liability in a baseball match scene. And when the citizens thought of a grade A, spectacular idea of making a film slandering him for one mistake, which turned out to be true. And that is not to mention buck luck, which, okay, I'll keep this brief since everyone already knows at this point, but long story short, he's not the goodiest dad. He doesn't support his son when he has to do it. I'll sue him up twice in a row, by the way. He wasn't even encouraging towards him when he told him that he wants to play baseball just like he did.
Baseball? Son, we talked about this.
Yeah, right, but that was when I was small. And I put on 5 ounces this year. I've really bulked up.
Really, son? Baseball? Are you sure?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, why not, right?
Yeah, why not? But why?
Well, Dad, you were such a big baseball star in high school, I figured, hey, you could give me some pointers.
But son, I'm just wondering, maybe baseball isn't exactly your thing, Have you considered the chess team?
And overall, bad communication with his son. Okay, even though these are like flaws that Buck has to overcome in a movie, learning to be a better, decent father to Chick Little, it doesn't negate the fact that he was woefully neglectful towards Chick Little, to which that was added as a cherry on top for the entire mess he had to endure up to the climax of the movie. Also, even though Chick Little is the one who mostly suffers from the mistreatment from the citizens of Oakley Oaks, Chick Little isn't the only victim. It's not really subtle, mind you, and we don't get to see it often throughout the movie because it's a basic ass cliche of a film, but we do see the other kids affected by Oakley Oaks' backwards mindset. For instance, most kids in the film act similarly to how the adults interact with Chick Little, and yet no one, and I do mean no one, well, maybe except one of the teachers, whatever, semantics, no one ever once disciplined those kids, meaning in most cases they tend to be directly or indirectly encouraged to act antagonistic to Chick Little, not realizing how it is blatantly wrong. Examples can be found everywhere, but the most obvious one is the volleyball scene right at the beginning of the film.
Split into 2 teams, popular versus unpopular.
Coach!
Yeah, unpopular.
Shouldn't we review safety guidelines?
Sure. Hit the pig, kids.
And this is not to mention the more nitpicky examples, such as no one catering to runt of the litters. Anyway, examples such as no one catering to runt of the litter's stress and anger management problem, and Abby being regarded as ugly due to her appearance. Oh, slight tangent. At the end of the movie, when it was all said and done, when Chick Little was proven right because of the circumstance, guess what the citizens of Oakley Oaks did? Well, don't, because I'm about to tell you anyway. Rather than apologizing to Chick Little for their actions, they opted to make a blockbuster movie about him and his exploits. Which, okay, it's cool and all, but in my eyes, it is the most PR stunt move that I've ever seen. Now that I think about it, the aliens in the movie have more decency than the people of Oakley Oaks. No, I'm serious. This still eludes me. Compare the actions between the aliens and the citizens of Oakley Oaks, and it's pretty telling. First of all, which now that I think about it, which is super obvious, Kirby, no, not that Kirby. Yes, that one. Kirby's parents are way more loving to their sons than Buck. It may be short really, but we do see scenes of them acting out aggressively towards everybody in Oakley Oaks because their child was missing and they're doing everything in their power to find him, even going as far as sending an SOS to their race, which, by the way, all of the alien races offered to help. Even though, granted, the actions they took was overkill, but even with that context in mind, with such a relatively small screen time they had, they showed love, kindness, and empathy, something that Oakley Oaks themselves lacked. Okay, maybe not fully, since they could have asked the people of Oakley Oaks for that portion of corn, rather than just outright stealing them, so... semantics? I still think Oakley Oaks sucks.